So what we're going to go through today in the quick training is rebuilding this map. So this map and the series of perspectives that go along with this. And this is the 2020 election results, preliminary results on a county by county level, and going through different perspectives, where that first perspective was popular back in 2016 to say, land votes, or sorry, that the whole country voted red. But the retort to that was, this view, which is showing that, people vote, not land. And that as we step through, there's more we can do. So the size of the dot is the number of votes. Here we're changing the colors so that it's less binary, but we're seeing the percent difference between Democrat and Republican votes. And then here in these last couple steps, we're adjusting the size of the dots based on the number of votes as well. So different perspectives of the same information in this 3D environment that we can then invite people to do. So let me just go ahead and build this on a quick basis. So this link we'll put into the description of the video so that you can download this data. In this data set, you'll see the states, county, the candidate information, the party that person was a part of in that county, how many votes were actually cast. This is used for the label, to come up with a label. This is the color that's associated with either Republican or Democrat, something we hard-coded in because the colors are so particular for U.S. politics. This is the percent of the vote that went towards the winning candidates. And then if they were Democratic, this is the percentage Democrat that they are. And then this is the latitude and longitude of each of those counties. And so when we create this data, so this is the flow itself, what we'll do is first upload the data. So we're going to load the data into the platform by selecting it from our computer. You'll see it load in here. Then what we're going to do is create a swarm, which is our main data visualization element. And so when I select the data source, right away you'll see every dot come into place here. And every dot is a row of the data set itself. And so as we go through, what I'll do first is I'm going to apply or set the color to the color that's in the spreadsheet. And I'm going to make the dots just a hair larger so we can see them more clearly. And I'm going to create a new step, which is essentially the same thing, the equivalent of adding a keyframe in an animation or a slide into a PowerPoint deck. And then I'm going to create a new perspective. And I'm going to start this one with the first mapped visualization. And so with that, I'm going to create a map from coordinates. And first, I'm going to need to create a map itself. And so right away, you'll see this globe come into play here. And I'm actually going to adjust some of the parameters of this globe to make it just a little bigger, actually much bigger for this, since we're going to focus just on the US. I'm going to do just a hair of rotation so we can focus just on the US as sort of the center points. I'm going to adjust the vertical axis as well. Just a little bit of play here to get it into the right position. Okay, there we go. And then I'm going to move this whole thing down so that the center origin is sort of where the US is. And so we're seeing that come into play. And then on the swarm itself, now I'm going to use map 1, tell it to go to the latitude and longitude. And right away, you'll see that first visualization that we all saw together, which is this, mapped view. I'm going to set the stacked height to 0 so that there's no stacking of the dots when we have multiple, because we have multiple years that are being shown, actually. It might not be apparent right away in the data set, but that is actually what's happening there. So let me save this, and then I'm going to add another step, and I'm going to duplicate that step. And now I'm going to create a new perspective, so I'm going to call this map 2. And on this next perspective, we're going to start to add some height to this. So I'm going to set the distance from map to 0, and I'm going to put the offset column as the number of votes that were cast, with the max offset as 0.3, which means 0.3 meters off of the globe itself. And so you'll see these start to come up. And I realize it's maybe a little big for the dot size, so I'll keep these back to 0.05. And so, yeah, we see these dots coming off the page, and then I'm going to add a connection, which is a way to connect dots together, or in this case, connect these dots back to the map itself. And so this is that second view we all saw, where we're looking at the height of these bars as indicative of the number of votes that were cast. And then let me add two more steps here. So one step where we are going to then create a new perspective. So I'll call this map 3. And on this perspective, we are just going to adjust the size of these dots based on the number of votes as well. So now the size of the dots will also be another dimension by which we can look at this. And then I'll add one last step, which on this last step, I'm going to create one last perspective. So map 4, and on this perspective, I'm going to change the colors so that it is a scale value, and we're going to scale this based on the percentage Democrat, going from Republican red to Democrat blue, and there. So not perfect there, but you get a sense for what that looks like. And so there's the recreation of essentially what we went through. So there's some other elements like some text elements and et cetera that I won't jump into right this instant. But yeah, that's essentially it. There's some other things like rollover text so that we can have information show up when you actually select or roll over a dot itself, such as the county information, things like that. So when I roll over, it shows the county and things like that. So after that, I hit save, publish, and share. And that's now live on the web for everyone to jump into and present live. So I know I went through that super fast, but hopefully that was helpful. And this is something I just recorded so that you